following my last video called Don't Clean Your Brush, I am going to try to make a painting rinsing my brush the less possible. So at first I was thinking I would try to count how many times I clean my brush and trying to do it the less possible. And finally I thought maybe if I do it the clever way, I may manage to paint it without cleaning my brush at all. This is a real challenge. So that's what I'm going to try to do, trying to make a painting without ever cleaning my brush. Will I succeed? I don't know, we'll see at the end. I guess we will figure out. And of course sharing with you along the way my kind of painting strategy about handling pigments and water. So hopefully it will be interesting for you to see it for real in the painting process. As a reminder that I am not supposed to clean my brush at all, I am going to use this adorable vintage French egg thing as a water pot so that it's really small, and because it's different than usual it reminds me that I am not supposed to clean my brush, because you know sometimes with the habit, that's a bit what we were talking about in the previous video, that I will put a link everywhere if you didn't watch it, so that you can get a bit the purpose of why trying to clean your brush less and all the benefit you can get from it. But yeah, as I was saying, sometimes you get into the habit of just making something all the time, even if it's not so necessary. Maybe some of you remember in my mushroom demo at some point I cleaned my brush and then I said, oh, I'm going to use the same color again, so this brush cleaning was not necessary. So let's try to beat the habit thanks to this little lovely thing from my grandparents' house. Before starting painting for real, maybe I should precise that this is a challenge. It's for the fun of it and also for the experience about, you know, trying to push the idea just to see what we can get from it, what we can learn from it. So if you like, you can try it too, of course, but I wouldn't recommend that you never clean your brush. I just recommend that you do it maybe a bit less if you tend to do it too often. But once again, of course, not rinsing it at all, it's just for the challenge. About the subject, I decided I would like to paint a still life, a bit like the mushroom, and I like fall and dry leaves, so I am going to paint some leaves. I already have quite a few in this old vintage French book, where I am keeping some leaves so that they dry nicely and flat, but I also sometimes like to paint them when they are a bit curling, so let's pick a few more leaves that will have this kind of lovely curl to paint. Just look how gorgeous this is. I try to pick some nice colorful leaves because of course the purpose of the challenge would be to figure out if I am able to make a colorful, bright, nice painting without cleaning my brush at all. And I think this will be really perfect for my demonstration. So this is going probably to be my curly leaf because the colors are so beautiful and I really like it. And I will see, I will put one or two other leaves with it, because I thought, yeah, maybe if I paint only one subject, it's a bit too easy, you know, you start with the bright colors and then the darker and then you're done. It would be just a bit too easy, so while painting several leaves together, I try to take on the challenge for real, for you. That's it, let's paint! So I guess here we are. So this is so small, this little water pot. So this is the brush I'm going to use for painting. That's a Winsor & Newton pointed round, a sable. That's one of my favorite brush. And I'm going to use the other one. It's the same brush but a bit older to soften the edges if needed. So this is a brush with only clean water. And this is the brush I'm going to paint with, which I'm going to try not to clean. So for now it's clean, woohoo! And I am going to paint this lovely curly leaf. So of course I'm going to try to use a brighter color possible at the beginning, and I'm going to start with the yellow colors because they are the one that the risk to get dirty the easiest. So this is my quinacridone gold. To have a nice, lovely, warm color. And so now I also have to concentrate on the painting. So I'm starting with this little point in here, and I want to create just a shape of the leaf, maybe just the whole shape with a warm color, and then I could drop some other shades in here too. Always trying to lay down the brush the most I can. So yeah, this leaf has quite a lot of yellowish tone. I can pick my other yellow too, which is more a cool yellow. Just for a change of colors. I don't know, maybe I could keep a bit of, so just dipping the brush. Keeping a bit of white on the leaf for the sense of light. And yeah, my cooler yellow again, which is always mixed with a bit of green, because I like to use it to create this kind of, you know, lime acidic green colors. And for the, so dipping the brush, for this curly part I am going to kind of ignore it for now and just trying to replicate the outside edge, and then for once I will use another layer for, so if I want only clean water I can use this other brush that I am not, no, I can't get this brush dirty. Yeah, I can't get this brush dirty, so if I want more water I just have to dip the brush more in this and try to figure out, because that's of this special challenge. And now I have maybe a bit too much water in the brush to go to my other area, so probably I made an error in here, because the goal of this experiment is trying not to spoil, you know, the amount of water and pigment in the brush, and so that the brush is not too wet. So if I dip it too much in my water I can, you know, still get in trouble a bit with it. But I will be good. So now I can't wait more to dip some more pigment in my leaf. So now I am picking some Green Apatite Genuine, but it's a bit dull with this warm yellow. So I should use, you know, if I want a more obvious green, I just use a turquoise, which is mixing on the paper with the yellow to create this green. So this problem of, you know, not cleaning the brush is mixing the colors. This leaf has also some red colors, and it's a bit difficult with some green in it to have bright red right now. So sometimes I was thinking, if I can't really, you know, remove the pigment and I have to keep it in my brush for this experiment, maybe I can get rid of some pigment like in here in the brush with another subject. Oh, I don't really have a lot of green left finally in my brush in here. So yeah, I could use sometimes another subject to get rid of some pigment. I could wipe it on the towel, but of course I would, you know, waste these pigments too. And another strategy could be to put the color on the backgrounds too, so I want it a bit lighter. Once again, maybe I put a bit too much water in the brush, dipping it a bit too much. So another leaf, and now, so I'm going to wipe the brush to remove a bit of water, and I want to use some colors, so for example a bit of pink. So because I am not painting so quickly and talking to you and trying to find out about my strategy, the painting already dried a bit, but it could be nice to have this almost dried accent of warm colors. So the pink, and I can use a bit more the red, but you know, the pink, once again mixing with the yellow, is creating some red already. Here it is. Maybe this leaf could also have a few color variation. Would like to use a bit more purplish colors in here, because if you look at these colors, it's quite purplish, even a bit of blue. This is a bit too much, too blue, but I guess it can be nice. Colorful fall leaf. Yeah, why not? This blue again. And so I don't touch this area too much, because I'm going to use it, you know, to define this curl. Maybe I could almost do it right now, because it's almost dry. So some of you were talking about the problem of having your pans dirty when you pick in them with a dirty brush, and so that's a reason so that people sometimes clean their brush so that they are not going to spoil the pans. I don't know, but I am not so worried about it. I don't know exactly why, because maybe I should. My pans are not so clean, but they are not so dirty either. So even with picking the colors with a dirty brush, for example my brush in here has kind of a bluish color or something. If I pick some orange in here, maybe there will be a bit of blue in here, but not so much, and the color I pick is not so dirty. That's a bit the kind of thing I wanted to show you. In here it's a bit too thick, but that we can get some interestingly bright colors. I need more water. I'm picking this orange. Even with a dirty brush, like I showed you earlier, I had a bit of purple in my brush, but this doesn't prevent me to get this bright orange, because probably the purple is at the bottom of the brush, and now I have my orange at the top of the brush, and it works pretty well. So I'm still going to wait a bit for this to dry. Maybe I could I will add maybe a bit of green in here, but later. Why not trying to paint another leaf in here? So for now I have some orange on my brush, and if I want to paint this leaf with maybe the brightest pink possible, as I said, I could get rid of some colors using, you know, for the background, even if it's orange, so with the pink it could work well, but I was thinking it would look nice for me to work a bit, no, so I just keep dipping the brush, and we are going to see all this kind of color mixing in the brush I was talking earlier. We can tell that the brush even kept my yellow from the beginning in the brush, so that's really interesting to notice. and I am going to keep using this pigment while using this for the background, so you can tell that I have less and less pigment in my brush because this is getting paler and paler. So with my other brush that I didn't really use yet, I can soften the edge while trying not to get this brush too dirty, because I guess I am not supposed to clean them either. And now that I have less pigment in my brush, I am going to pick some quinacridone rose, a bit of diluting, and playing with this leaf. So when I want the mark not to be too hard edge like this, I use my brush the other direction, because at the bottom of the brush there is some water. So if I use it, some water with some yellow still. So if I use it this direction, I am able to get kind of a more, you know, softened edge. But I can also, of course, use this brush if I want to get a real soft edge. So I guess it will be nice to get a bit of yellow in this leaf for color variations. And so the idea is having the top of the leaf with the negative. I could even drop a bit of pink in this negative shape, and then keep painting it as a positive shape here underneath. So I keep working with this quinacridone rose, and then I will pick some quinacridone fuchsia for stronger values. Maybe I don't want to paint too long, because even if it's not a 10-minute challenge video, I wouldn't want you to get too bored of watching me painting all the time. But you know, once I started, can't stop anymore. So I try to keep a bit of white in here for the nerves. So yeah, my leaf starts to take shape. There is a bit of green in here, so maybe I'm going to pick some green afterwards, not now, to, you know, to keep working with my color harmony, and then I will change it gradually for more subtle or darker color. So as I said, I'm going to pick in the quinacridone fuchsia to put some darker areas. I can keep, you know, defining a bit of the, I hope you can see it well enough in here. Maybe this pink thing is a bit weird, so I am wiping this brush so that it's really not so wet, and softening these weird edges that was being creating in here. So here it is. Now I'm going to pick a bit of the so the green with the, here the green with the red is going to be not so green but rather grey. Now you can tell that it's still quite a nice green. If I want it more greenish, I can pick a bit of quinacridone gold and also this turquoise, which is quite strong, and you know, I can manage to get some green after painting some red, which is a complementary color, without getting it too muddy or too grey, and keeping it really colorful. You can tell that my leaf, yeah, is really colorful. Here it is. Oh, I said that I wanted to put a bit of green in this leaf, so because it was a bit more watery. So this is a bit too brown. I want, you know, to balance a bit this kind of colors mixing in the brush that can, you know, get closer to a brown. I need to be even bolder with my color choices, so it means mixing really a brighter green, so that even with the kind of red or the colors still in my brush, it looks green and not only brown. Yeah, this is nice, and this is so bright, but it's quite nice too. And so now at the end I want to define this kind of curly thing I talked about earlier, now that the leaf probably is almost dry. So I just figured out the video stopped, so I hope it didn't stop for too long. I just made this curly shape with negative painting and playing with colors. I was sketching my shadows in here under the leaves, so I can tell I didn't clean my brush because, you know, this kind of little amount of water just has still a bit of yellow from the beginning, you know, just for dipping your brush you have a bit of pigment, yeah, leaving the brush. And now I am adding the shadow on the leaf. And softening it. I usually like soft shadows better with my work, for my work. This has time to dry while I was realizing that the video was not shooting anymore. Let's pick a bit of Moon Glow to straighten this shadow. Moon Glow, Ultramarine, and for the other leaf. Oh, sorry for the framing. That's a bit tight, so I'm doing my best, but I'm sorry if sometimes the shooting is a bit is not the best. So I got distracted, but I'm going to try to finish my demo without spoiling it too much. So here a bit of some shadow. I like here how the shadow, so you can have the example of working with the two brushes. One to apply the colors, like in here, shadow colors, and one to soften the edge, and it really reinforces my negative painting work and give depth to the sketch. Oh, there is a kind of strong quinacridone gold in here. I just pushed it with my brush, so I guess kind of we already have a warm background in here, so that's not so much of a problem. So finally I made a bit of a shadow all around, as if the leaf was just a bit up in the air, curling. Just a bit of a strong shadow to make this leaf. Oh, this is strong. Of course, if you mess up and it's not the right color and you don't clean your brush. So just a few final touches. Maybe I feel that, if I want it to be a kind of an overall sketch. There is a bit of a lack of putting things together, so I don't know, without taking too much time, maybe I could have a kind of a branch, a bit of going through the page so that it doesn't look so separated. I don't want to disturb too much the other sketches, so maybe I can make the leaves really smaller than they are. You know, just imagine in here. So now I just, you know, using the color of my brush, the color of the shadow, which is, you know, a bit of purplish. Maybe I can drop a bit more pink out there here, but it's not really my subject, so I don't want it too strong. But just to give a bit of coherence to the page. So yeah, a bit of pink. So for harmony, I am adding a bit of pink here and there. I liked when it was purplish too. I just picked this as an inspiration to keep enhancing a bit of the page. I keep mixing colors on paper because it's so beautiful. This is a bit too bright, but whatever. Here it is, a bit brighter here and there, a bit bluer. Maybe if it's too strong I can just dab it a bit with a towel. I try not to do this too often, but once in a while if needed. That's not a drama. So, that's not usually the brush I am using for splattering, so I have to be careful so that it's not going to splatter my face, but just to finish a bit this, I am picking more water and splattering a bit at the top. And picking some yellow again, mixing it with enough water and making more water. Crazy splattering thing. Orange. Here we are. So here is my painting completed without ever cleaning my brush. There are just a few pigments in here that came in the water pot when I was dipping it to dilute my values, but I didn't clean my brush at all and used only this really small water pot. So I did it! I completed the whole painting without cleaning my brush at all. Haha, this was a funny experiment. I hope it was interesting to watch it and that it made you think even more about how to use the water, the pigment together to get nice, bright paintings. Thank you so much to you all, my creative team, to come along the adventure. If you haven't already, please subscribe and click the little bell to be able to enjoy the next video I am going to offer. Have fun, create, and see you on Tuesday. Bye bye! And now I have to clean it really for real because I don't want, you know, the pigment to damage the hair. Important to clean your brush really well after painting.